Getting the AIDS virus can be a death sentence, but in Cuba, it also amounts to a prison sentence as well. Cuba forces its AIDS patients into quarantine. NBC Science correspondent Robert Bazell tonight.
This is not a typical Cuban barbershop. Victor Laos and Juan Carlos Herrera are both involuntarily confined to one of the sanitariums where Cuba quarantines everyone infected with the AIDS virus. It is very humanitarian, says Victor. It helps us, Juan Carlos says, so we don't pass on this disease to other people in the population. Such sentiments were typical of the people we spoke with in this collection of tiny, pleasant cabins 60 miles east of Havana. But we did not talk to everyone. On the morning of our visit, officials told us that more than half the residents had to be taken elsewhere for medical checkups.
There is no question that Cuba's AIDS policy has been among the most successful in the world. There could have been tens or hundreds of thousands of cases here, but fewer than 1,000 infections have been reported.
The forced confinement has curtailed the spread of AIDS in Cuba, but it has also brought criticism from civil libertarians around the world. I asked the Deputy Health Minister if the country was proud of its AIDS program.
We are satisfied, not proud. We are satisfied about the progress in this problem.
The first AIDS infections in Cuba were among heroes, troops returning from fighting for Marxist revolutions in Africa. So Cuban officials point out that the AIDS policy was never an excuse to lock up homosexuals or any other group. This man and woman both got infected while serving in Ethiopia. They met and married at the sanitarium. Almost every time a Cuban comes in contact with the country's extensive healthcare system, he or she is tested for the AIDS virus. Cubans who are sick from AIDS get high-quality treatment at a hospital. But as long as infected people remain healthy, they must stay at the sanitarium. One of the residents, Guillermo Fernandez, showed me the cabin where he lives with his wife. I asked how it compared to the house he had lived in before.
I lived in a comfortable and large house, but even if I had lived in a hut, I would have preferred it to this.
Still, Guillermo supports the quarantine program.
We are sheltered here. Society does not yet accept us as we are, and so this really is a refuge.
We're not allowed to go out.
Dr. Jorge Perez, who runs Cuba's AIDS program, says Cuba has decided that individual rights are not as important as the need to protect the public health.
You are protecting this individual by giving him good treatment, but at the same time, you are protecting the society because this individual, it could infect this society. He doesn't know, and he doesn't pay any attention, and he doesn't care about the disease.
Sanitarium residents can get passes to leave. Juan Carlos Castellano and Raul Llanos are a gay couple, both infected, who live together in a sanitarium. They go out often for days at a time. To get a pass, residents must convince a psychologist they will not infect anyone. And even if they are let out temporarily, all Cubans known to be infected with the AIDS virus must return to their quarantine quarters. Robert Bazell, NBC News, Matanzas, Cuba.